Work and learn. Meet Light Meet Max. සක්‍රිය කර ගැනීමට MySLT app එකට log වෙන්න. Work and learn. Meet Light Meet Max. සක්‍රිය කර ගැනීමට MySLT app එකට log වෙන්න.
අර පිරිමැස්ම ගැන හිතන ඔබට Vim Liquid වෙතින් රුපියල් 100ක ඉතිරියක්.
හරිම සුළුයි.
Tonight on First at 9, this Saturday, the 31st of December 2022. New tariff. New electricity tariff proposals to be presented to the first meeting of the Cabinet on Monday, the 2nd of January. Playing it by ear. Director General of Health Services says no decision to impose restriction on Chinese tourists and will take action if cases found. A pontiff's demise. Former Pope Benedict XVI passes away at the Vatican residence aged 95 today.
From AdaDerana, this is AdaDerana First at 9 with Andrew Bernard. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
A very good evening and welcome to AdaDerana 24's English News. Now, the Ceylon Electricity Board announced the new proposed electricity tariff hike being made to increase the current unit of 8 rupees for the families that consume 30 units to 30 rupees. According to the Minister of Power and Energy, Kanchana Vijayasekara, the proposed electricity tariffs are due to be presented to the Cabinet on the 2nd of January 2023. As per the newly presented tariff rates by the Ceylon Electricity Board, the current unit price of 8 rupees for the families that consume 30 units or less will be hiked to 30 rupees. For those who consume between 31 to 60 units, the existing unit price of 10 rupees will be increased to 37 rupees. The 10 rupee unit price for the families who consume units between 61 to 90 units will be increased to 42 rupees. However, the existing unit price of 50 rupees charged from the consumers who utilize between 91 to 120 units and 121 to 180 units will remain the same. Further, the 75 rupee unit for those who consume 181 units and above will remain unchanged. Meanwhile, the CB has also announced a change in its fixed charges as well. Accordingly, the fixed charge for the first 30 units will be increased from 120 rupees to 400 rupees. The fixed charge for 31 to 60 units will be increased from 240 rupees to 550 rupees. While the charge for those who consume between 61 and 90 units will be raised to 650 rupees from 360 rupees. The current fee of 960 rupees charged for units between 91 and 120 and 121 and 180 will be increased to 1,500 rupees. For those who utilize 181 units and above, the fixed charge will be raised from 1,500 rupees to 2,000 rupees. According to Minister of Power and Energy Kanchana Vijayasekara, the proposed electricity tariff are due to be presented to the Cabinet on the 2nd of January 2023. Now, even though many European countries, including Japan and the United States, have imposed restrictions on the arrival of Chinese tourists to their countries, Sri Lankan authorities have not made a similar decision. The Director General of Health Services, Dr. Asela Gunawardana, said that they have yet not decided to impose restrictions on Chinese tourists and that they will act accordingly if and once the subvariant in circulation in China is found in the island.
The
COVID B.7 subvariant, which is currently spreading in China, has not been identified in Sri Lanka yet. We imposed various restrictions in the past due to the COVID situation in the country. We will have to decide whether we impose restrictions in the country depending on whether the virus enters Sri Lanka. Currently, we have not taken any decision to impose any restriction. We have received reports on how other countries have imposed restrictions at the moment. However, it is not right for us to report on the COVID situation in China without knowing full details of their situation. We are, however, vigilant on monitoring whether that subvariant is spreading in the country. We are sending PCR samples we received to the MRI, Karapitiya, Upcountry and Jayawardhanapura laboratories for gene sequencing. This way, we will be able to find out if the COVID subvariant has entered our society. However, we have not reported any patient with this variant. The patients being reported so far are patients infected with the Omicron variant. There has not been an increase in the number of Omicron-infected patients yet. There has not been an increase in the number of deaths reported. We have not made face masks mandatory at the moment. However, we request the public to wear a face mask if they have a cough, cold and any other symptoms. It is also suitable to wear a face mask in areas where large crowds commute.
Now, the Secretary to the President's Fund, W.A. Sarath Kumara, has announced that the allowance paid through the President's Fund as medical aid will be increased in the first few months of the next year. According to the President's Media Division, a total of 1,500 million rupees was paid as medical allowance this year alone. Secretary to the President's Fund, W.A. Sarath Kumara, said that steps have been taken to complete the work on 10,360 applications out of the 11,000 applications received by the end of 2022. Sarath Kumara said that most of the payments related to the applications have already been made and the remaining applications are being cleared promptly and the documents are scheduled to be completed within the next few weeks. Accordingly, he noted that nearly 1,500 million rupees has already been paid for medical aid within this year. Sarath Kumara said that the President has given instructions to speed up the provision of medical aid to needy patients, giving priority to the piled-up applications. He also said that in addition to the hospitals currently registered with the President's Fund, new hospitals have also been registered to reduce the need for patients from distant areas to come to the cities to get medical assistance. In addition, a committee consisting of medical experts has been appointed to obtain the necessary recommendations to increase the financial assistance currently paid for surgery and treatment, and President Ranil Wickremesinghe has instructed to increase the amount of medical assistance paid as soon as the recommendations of this committee are made. Accordingly, in the first few months of 2023, the allowances paid as medical aid will be increased. Apart from the number of diseases for which medical aid will be paid, the committee has been instructed to give necessary recommendations about the conditions for which further medical aid should be paid. According to the approved provisions of the Presidential Fund Act, 20 million rupees has been released for charitable grants and the improvement of religious activities, while about 1,300 million rupees has been released for the Mahapola High Education Scholarships from the money received by the Presidential Fund in 2022. Now, the charge d'affaires of the Chinese Embassy in Colombo, Hu Wei, says that their assistance to Sri Lanka has no hidden agenda. Addressing an event in the northern province, he also said that China remains ready to extend their support to Sri Lanka, especially during this period of crisis.
Essential food packages donated by the Red Cross Society of China was distributed to nearly 7,000 underprivileged families in the northern province under the patronage of the Charge d'Affaires of the Chinese Embassy in Colombo, Hu Wei.
The friendship between our two countries is not only the friendship between two governments, but also the friendship between two peoples. And one more point to emphasize, there's no any further agenda behind of this. We didn't expect anything to pay back. What we are here, the only reason is just to help for your friendship, to help each other as a sincere friend, make ourselves very happy as well. No matter our friends from which ethnic group are you, no matter what kind of religious belief do you have, but I think this is the common value, to help each other, to support each other, especially during your tough time. A friend in need is a friend indeed.
Now, the Sri Lanka Railways announced today that it will re-employ on a contract basis the essential service employees who are set to retire at 60 years of age from the 31st of December 2022. The Presidential Secretariat has directed the Sri Lanka Railways to obtain the services of these retirees in their services as required. Now, stay with us to find out how the stock markets across the world performed as 2022 comes to an end and the outcome of the Sri Lanka National Prosperity Index.
It's hard to keep up with the new when you're listening to the same old Slim Bread Week, a week for professionals.
Welcome back. Now, in your business news, the Ministry of Finance has issued a new circular further suspending the expenses on events organized by the public sector institutions for the year 2023 as well. The circular pertaining to the authorization of expenditures and managing public sector expenditures was issued by the Finance Secretary Mahinda Siriwardana, making the expenditure limits mentioned in the previous communique published in this regard applicable to next year. Accordingly, the Finance Secretary has stressed that it is the responsibility of public officials to manage the expenditure to ensure that the financial allocations made in the annual budget for the year 2023 are not exceeded. The new circular added that due to the ongoing crisis situation, government expenditure for 2023 should be done more prudently than ever before, and the provisions in the circular to suspend expenditures for various public sector events should be strictly followed. Now, Cambridge Finance today clarified that the notice issued by the Central Bank of Sri Lanka yesterday directing the company to settle its public liabilities in full as part of the central bank's consolidation plan. Cambridge Finance emphasized that they have allocated funds necessary to pay all its depositors, including the interest payment. The central bank issued an announcement yesterday directing Cambridge Finance Limited to settle its public liabilities in full within the period from the 26th of December this year until the 20th of February 2023 in terms of Section 25(1)(m) of the Finance Business Act number 42 of 2011. This, the CBSL stated, was due to continuous capital deficiencies faced by KFL. The Monetary Authority further stated that this direction was issued in the best interest of depositors and promissory note holders of KFL, subsequent to securing measures to have adequate funds available for KFL to settle its public liabilities. In response to this, Cambridge Finance Limited issued a statement today. The announcement asking its depositors to withdraw their funds was part of the central bank's consolidation process. Cambridge Finance added that there was a condition to pay off all its debtors before its proposed merger with Nation Lanka Finance plc. The company further announced that they made the announcement after allocating the funds necessary to pay all its depositors, including interest. All other operations of the company, including its lending and collection activities, are continuing as usual through all of its 30 branches island-wide. Now, Sri Lanka's Prosperity Index recorded an index value of 0.796 in 2021 in a backdrop where the COVID-19 pandemic affected the economy severely. This is a slight increase compared to the 0.764 recorded in the year 2020. Among the 9 provinces, the Western Province recorded the highest value for the Prosperity Index in 2021, which was stated at 0.802%. The Sri Lanka Prosperity Index recorded an index value of 0.796 in 2021, with a slight increase compared to 0.764 recorded in 2020, in a backdrop where COVID-19 pandemic affected the economy severely. The marginal increases of economy and business climate, well-being of the people and socio-economic structure, sub-indices have contributed to the slight increment of SLPI. Overall increases in the economy and business climate sub-index in 2021 was driven by increases in gross domestic product per capita in nominal terms, employment, wages and industrial density compared to 2020. However, relatively high inflation in 2021 compared to the previous year had detrimental effects on the sub-index. The marginal increase observed in the well-being of the people sub-index was predominantly due to the facilitation for education and improvements in people's wealth in 2021 compared to 2020. However, subdued performance in education, drop in health facilities such as low availability of medical officers, reduced cleanliness of environment and low engagement in entertainment activities negatively contributed to the performance of the sub-index. Expansions in electricity supply and telephone facilities as well as road developments during the year have moderated the negative impact on the socio-economic infrastructure sub-index caused by the decline in usage of public transportation facilities, reduced availability of clean and safe drinking water, and the high number of crimes reported during 2021. Among the 9 provinces, the Western Province has secured the highest value for the Prosperity Index in 2021, which was 0.802%. The Southern and Northwestern provinces were ranked at the 2nd and 3rd positions, with values of 0.582 and 0.564 respectively. Now, three of the biggest indexes, along with many other high-performing stocks on the US Wall Street, fell, concluding 2022 in a low end. The US stocks closed outperforming, capping a year of sharp losses driven by aggressive interest rate hikes to curb inflation, recession fears, the Russia-Ukraine war, and rising concerns over COVID cases in China. Wall Street's three main indexes booked their first yearly drop since 2018 as an era of loose monetary policy ended with the Federal Reserve's fastest pace of rate hikes since the 1980s. The benchmark S&P 500 has shed 19.4% this year, marking a roughly $8 trillion decline in market cap. The tech-heavy Nasdaq is down 33.1%, while Dow Jones Industrial Average has fallen 8.9%. The annual average declines of all three indexes were the biggest since the 2008 financial crisis, largely driven by a drought in growth shares, as concerns over Fed's rapid interest rate hikes boost US Treasury yields. Growth stocks have been under pressure from rising yields for much of 2022 and have underperformed their economically linked value peers, revising a trend that has lasted for much of the past decade. Apple Incorporated, Alphabet Incorporated, Microsoft and Nvidia Corporation, Amazon.com Incorporated and Tesla Incorporated are among the worst drags on the S&P 500 Growth Index, down between 28% and 66% in 2022. The S&P 500 Growth Index has fallen about 30.1% this year, while the Value Index is down 7.4%, with investors preferring high dividend yielding sectors with steady earnings such as energy. Energy has recorded stellar annual gains of 59% as oil prices surged. 10 of the 11 S&P sector indexes dropped yesterday, led by real estate and utilities. The focus has shifted to the 2023 corporate earnings outlook, with growing concerns about the likelihood of a recession. Still, signs of US economic resilience have fueled worries that rates could remain higher, though easing inflationary pressures have raised hopes of dialed-down rate hikes. Monetary market participants see 65% odds of a 25 basis point hike in the Fed's February meeting, with rates expected to peak at 4.97% by mid-2023. The Dow Jones Industrial Average fell 73.55 points to 33,147.25, while the S&P 500 lost 9.78 points at 3,839.50. The Nasdaq Composite Index meanwhile dropped 11.61 points to 10,466.48. Now, former Pope Benedict XVI died at his Vatican residence aged 95, almost a decade after he stood down because of his ailing health. Joseph Ratzinger, who bore the title of Pope, will continue to be remembered as the first Pope to retire in 600 years. The Vatican spokesperson Matteo Bruni stated that the funeral of Pope Emeritus Benedict will be held on the 5th of January in St. Peter's Square in the Vatican City at 9:30 a.m. in local time. In the meantime, President Ranil Wickremesinghe too expressed his condolences over the demise of the former Pope, saying that Pope Emeritus Benedict XVI leaves a footprint of ecumenical dialogue. Former Pope Benedict XVI led the Catholic Church for less than 8 years, until in 2013, he became the first Pope to resign since Gregory XII in 1415. Benedict spent his final years at the Mater Ecclesiae monastery within the walls of the Vatican. His successor, Pope Francis, said he had visited him there frequently. The Vatican announced today with sorrow that Pope Emeritus Benedict XVI passed away today at 9:34 a.m. at the Mater Ecclesiae monastery in the Vatican. The Vatican said the body of the Pope Emeritus will be placed at St. Peter's Basilica from the 2nd of January for the greeting of the faithful. The Vatican is due to announce the plans for Pope Benedict's funeral. The head of the Catholic Church in England and Wales, Cardinal Vincent Nicholas, said Pope Benedict was one of the great theologians of the 20th century. In a statement, he said he remembered with particular affection the remarkable papal visit to these lands in 2010. He said that they saw his courtesy, his gentleness, his perceptiveness, the perceptiveness of his mind, and the openness of his welcome to everybody that he met. He added that he was through and through a gentleman, a scholar, a pastor, and a man of God, close to the Lord and always his humble servant. Meanwhile, the British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak and French President expressed their condolences over the death of Pope Emeritus Benedict XVI. Although the former pontiff had been ill for some time, Vatican authorities said there had been an aggravation in his condition because of his advancing age. Born Joseph Ratzinger in Germany, Benedict was 78 when in 2005 he became one of the oldest pope ever to be elected. Have for this evening. Join us again tomorrow for the very latest news at the very same time. We wish all our viewers a very happy new year and a pleasant evening. Good night.
For news and information you can trust 24 hours a day, visit AdaDerana.lk.